Hello, it's a real humdinger of a week in the world of climate change and legal battles. The Trump administration, through the Department of Justice, has filed lawsuits against 4 states. These states are Michigan, Hawaii, New York, and Vermont. They are all led by Democrats. The lawsuits are about climate change laws that these states have either passed or are considering. The first 2 lawsuits, filed on May 1, 2025, were against Michigan and Hawaii. These lawsuits are kind of weird because they're preemptive. That means the Trump administration sued them before the states could even file their own planned lawsuits against fossil fuel companies. Then, on May 2nd, the Trump administration went after New York and Vermont. These lawsuits challenge climate superfund laws passed in 2024. These laws aim to make fossil fuel companies help pay for the costs of dealing with climate change. New York, for example, is looking for a cool $75 billion. So, yeah, big money and big legal fights are afoot. Let's unpack what these states are trying to do. Michigan and Hawaii were both gearing up to sue major oil companies. They claim these companies knew about the dangers of climate change but lied about it for years. They also argue that the companies' actions directly led to harmful climate impacts, like rising sea levels and more extreme weather. New York and Vermont's climate superfund laws are a bit different. They take a page from the federal superfund law, which was created to clean up hazardous waste sites. The climate versions of these laws say that since fossil fuel companies polluted and contributed to climate change, they should help pay for the costs of dealing with the consequences. This could include things like building seawalls to protect against rising sea levels, fixing damage from more intense storms, or relocating coastal communities that are increasingly at risk. The Trump administration is throwing a legal wrench into all of this. They argue that only the federal government, not individual states, has the power to regulate things like air pollution and climate change. They say these state laws and lawsuits interfere with the country's energy policy and could even threaten national security. The Trump administration, led by Attorney General Pam Bondi, keeps hammering home this idea that letting states sue over climate change will create chaos. They claim it will lead to a patchwork of different state laws and regulations, which would be a nightmare for businesses. They also say it undermines the work of the Environmental Protection Agency, which is supposed to be the main agency dealing with these issues. The states are pushing back hard. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel called the lawsuit against her state frivolous and arguably sanctionable, which in legal terms is like calling it a big dumb waste of everyone's time. New York Attorney General Letitia James argues that their Superfund law is simply about holding polluters accountable for the mess they created. And Hawaii, well, they weren't even going to be deterred. After the Department of Justice sued them, they just went ahead and filed their lawsuit against the oil companies anyway. Talk about not being intimidated. So, what happens now? Get ready for a long and messy legal battle. These cases will likely drag on for years, moving through the courts and potentially even ending up in front of the Supreme Court. The outcome of these cases could have huge implications for how climate change is addressed in the United States. If the Trump administration wins, it could set a precedent that makes it much harder for states to take action on climate change on their own. It could also chill future climate lawsuits, as other states might be hesitant to take on powerful industries like the fossil fuel lobby. However, if the states win, it could empower other states to take similar action and hold polluters accountable. It could also put more pressure on the federal government to step up and take a more active role in addressing climate change. Either way, this is a legal showdown worth watching because it's about much more than just a few lawsuits. It's about the future of climate action in America. And, frankly, the future is looking about as stable as a drunk giraffe on roller skates.